Hey everyone, welcome to the final spreadsheet analysis overview video. So this video corresponds with analysis number 4, employee wage budget. And in this assignment, this is a great opportunity for you to not only practice everything that you've learned on Microsoft Excel over the course of WSSD 622, but also be able to really look at what it's like to be in an athletic director position and looking at a budget from a broad level for an entire sports season. So you'll be able to practice not only those formulas and functions, you'll practice data entry, you'll also practice different calculations and figuring out ways to apply information to make an evidence-based decision and how to address a net loss in your budget for one operating season. So to really set the scene for you here, you are the athletic director for Dunder High School in Mifflinville, Pennsylvania. You'll see that here you're being asked to create an upcoming budget for the fall 2026 season. So your superintendent, your supervisor has provided you with a spreadsheet, which is what the student copy of this version is online, that you will work within to be able to complete and aka send back over to her. So some notes for us as we're beginning. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. Again, make sure that you're uploading this in the correct format, XLS or XLSX. Any resources for Excel that you want to reference as far as formulas and functions go, I'm going to direct you to the resources module. You can always reach out to me. And then one final reminder for generative artificial intelligence, making sure that these assignments reflect your own thinking and your own completion, so that way then you are comfortable with Microsoft Excel to be able to use that in your future professional positions. Therefore, generative AI is not permitted to be used for this assignment. And then you have the due date. So for this particular assignment, if you are keeping up with the pace of the course and not working ahead, you have 2 weeks to complete this. The reason for that being is because it is a little bit more tedious and time consuming. So I want to be upfront with that to take your time throughout this. Make sure that you're taking notes if you have to take a break and leave off somewhere to be able to do that. So you're pacing yourself. I'm going to scroll down here and you'll see initially some case information. So make sure that you're reading through this. This provides you with a lot of information about your high school, as well as the different factors that will impact your budget. So, like officials, how coach information is classified, coach salary information. And you'll see that I've referenced some appendices within the text of this case information. So here you'll see like Appendix B. So I'm just going to flip my share screen so you can see some of this pieces of information. So Appendix A within this particular assignment corresponds to the PIAA Constitution and bylaws. If you want to work at the high school level, or really if you are interested in working in any educational institution, chances are you're going to be part of some type of larger governing body like the PIAA, like the NCAA, like the PSAC here at Millersville. And you have to abide by a certain set of rules. And that's really what this Constitution and bylaws do, excuse me. So as you scroll down, you'll see a table of contents here. I'm looking for you to reference one specific article, and I note that within your case information for this assignment so that you can see the fall schedule for competitions. I also encourage you, if you're interested in working at this level, take the time to skim through this so that you can see how this is written and the different rules that apply within this particular governing body, aka Pennsylvania High School Athletics. I'm going to swap my share screen now for the Appendix B. Oops, that is not Appendix B. Apparently. Oh, okay, there we go. Apologies there for my mistake. It looks like it was appearing for you for Appendix B, but not for me. So now I can see it. Now we're all in Appendix B. Collective bargaining agreements. For those of you that are not familiar with it, this term, this is a very common practice within educational institutions, especially within public educational institutions. Basically, this sets forth different progressions that people will take throughout their salaries, and also the different requirements that both the school district as well as the employees, so teachers, coaches, etc., have to abide by. There's different articles within collective bargaining agreements. These are typically negotiated on behalf of the school district as well as unions. Therefore, any information within a collective bargaining agreement you can't change. So, for the purposes of this assignment, you can't change any rates of that coaches are paid because these are agreed upon over time. And the more tenured that somebody is, aka the more years they've accumulated within their position, they've had more negotiating power and will earn more money. So, that's really how the salary progression takes place within a collective bargaining agreement. As I alluded to, there's multiple articles. For the purpose of this assignment, I've only included one, Article 1, and that's for extracurricular coaches. So you can see a little bit about what this article would mean. And as you scroll down, you'll see the different step definitions as well as salaries by step. So this is divided not just by sport, but also the level of competition and the role that a particular coach plays. You'll also see it's divided out by year. So this is really looking at you making sure that you're checking through the table to be able to report the information. Now, this information, these are what we would call salaries or stipends. So as you're looking through this, you might say, our coaches really paid this amount of money to coach a full season. I would say this is pretty accurate. Some school districts might pay a little bit more, others might pay a little bit less. But at the high school level, this is, I would say, pretty accurate for what coaches are paid. Reason for that being, a lot of high school coaches are also teachers within the school district, so this is a supplementary pay for their salary. Otherwise, if you're not employed by the school district, this is what you would be paid for the season. So something good to know heading into this, whether you'd want to assume an athletic director position at the high school level or even coach at the coach level for there as well. Let's now switch my shared screen here and get back to the instructions. Okay, we're back at the instructions here. So I'm going to scroll back down to the case information. So we just spoke about the appendices. I encourage you again, continue to read through, take notes as needed for here, and then you're going to see in part one. So part one is looking for you to begin to reference those appendices. So Appendix A and then Appendix B to help you make sure that you're recording the correct information to calculate that budget accurately. Then part two, we'll look at calculating revenue. So within this sheet, again, I encourage you to go step by step. You will have to go back and reference information within the case to be able to help you calculate what that looks like. I'm going to swap my shared screen for what the Excel document will look like for you from the student end. So here you'll see at the bottom, there's three different sheets: master, revenue, and expenses. Really important as you are opening up this document and looking through it. Make sure that you are not touching the structure of the document, as that will alter the calculation. Some of it's being automatically done for you and how I've set this up. You can change visually how it's organized with borders, font size, shading, etc. However, I am asking that you don't adjust any of the cells, rows, or columns. So for example, in revenue, you're going to type in information here. And let's say that I'm going to update this and say it was $1,000. So that automatically calculates for you. On the master sheet, you'll see that that also updates to $1,000. I'm going to go back to the revenue sheet and erase this. And on master, that will also reflect it as well, as that total revenue will be back to zero there. So that's what you're doing for the revenue sheet. I'm going to swap back over to the instructions, and then you'll see the expenses portion of the assignment. Looks like I can't control. There we go. Apparently, I'm not good at swapping my screen. So here we go. Then you'll have the opportunity to calculate expenses, right? So that's when you'll go to that next sheet labeled expenses, and you'll begin to input some more data into this particular section pertaining to coach salaries, contest management costs, and that relate back to transportation, officials, event supervision, etc. So follow through step by step for here. And then that final part will be checking your work, making sure that, because that's a lot of data entry, to make sure that that is accurate in terms of what's also represented on the Excel sheet. So now I'm going to swap back over to Excel, and you should see in this expenses sheet that this is pretty much laid out for you by sport. However, if you're like me and looking through this, some people might want to input information right away as they begin this part of the assignment. Other people might want to visually organize this, color code, etc. by this portion. I'm more of a color coder to begin with, so that way then I'm organized. Other people's brains might work differently. I encourage you to see what works best for you. Make sure that you're taking notes if you have to take a break about where you've stopped, so that way then you could pick right back up. So again, you would go through and update information. Chances are when you are updating some particular pieces of information, you will see this update automatically within different portions of the assignment in and of itself. We're now going to go back to the instructions. So after you input information for revenue and information for expenses, then part 3C will be checking your work, as I've discussed before, to make sure that everything is all set for you to go to part 4. Now, what you should see once you've completed all of this work so far is that actually you'll be operating in a budget deficit. So that means your expenses are going to be larger than your revenue, and you need to substantially raise that to be able to operate at zero or above that zero, in the green, so to speak. So once you've sent this budget over to your supervisor, the superintendent, she replied saying that you need to create a plan to address the budget deficit. So really, how are you going to fundraise to be able to have either a positive net income or a net zero budget? And that's for you to be able to creatively explore using the information provided within the case background. So here, what this is looking for you to do to be able to demonstrate your work and your thinking is you'll create a new worksheet and follow the step-by-step instructions here to demonstrate where you came from, your initial total revenue, net expense, total expenses, and net loss, and then demonstrate what you've done to adjust that, and then you will explain why you've done so. How and why you've done so within this text box. So here I'm looking for a written justification that's pretty well developed. So I'm looking for at least 2 to 3 paragraphs that addresses these particular prompts. What adjustments did you make? Explain how they affected the budget, and of course, make sure that you describe where you were coming from as you explain those adjustments, why you decided to target those areas, maybe an alternative strategy that you considered and why you rejected that strategy, and then thinking about again those ripple effects to your decision-making process. Who is impacted, internal stakeholders and external stakeholders, as a result of your decision? The final page of this assignment is the grading rationale. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here so you can see it. This particular assignment is weighted the heaviest within the spreadsheet assignment portfolio for analyses. That's because it involves the most amount of work. Out of the 35 points for the assignment, the bulk of your points is coming from that written response. So making sure that you're being detailed and demonstrating why you're thinking what you're thinking, pulling in certainly relevant information from the case as well as specific information from your workbook to help justify those arguments for yourself. You can see here some of it will be based on data entry as well as visual organization. And then, of course, as in every other assignment, the correct use of formulas, functions, and calculations and following the directions. So I believe that that concludes our video here for spreadsheet analysis number 4. As I mentioned, make sure you take your time through this assignment. Reach out to me with any questions that you have, and I look forward to hearing how you address the Dunder High School budget deficit for the fall 2026 season. Have a good one.